Hello, my name is Lolade Agbadi, and I'm the Sustainability Specialist here at DBN. Welcome to DBN's celebration of Customer Service Week. Sustainability and ESG for us at DBN mean different things at different times. Sometimes we're talking about financial sustainability, other times it's about the environment. Sometimes it could be about social development and impact, but every single time it's about governance. And our strong governance culture starts from the very top and trickles all the way down to the last man. Usually, we're carried by our internal support staff. They oftentimes lead us to our goals, targets, and that finish line. Today, we are super excited because we have the man who leads from the very front, Dr. Shehu Yahaya, our chairman, have a short conversation with us about DBN's current sustainability practices, but most importantly, what lies for us in the future. So please join me in welcoming the chairman of the Development Bank of Nigeria, Dr. Shehu Yahaya.
Thank you, Lolade. I think it's very clear that the mission of the Development Bank of Nigeria is to facilitate sustainable socio-economic development through the provision of finance to Nigeria's underserved micro, medium, and small enterprises through eligible financial institutions. You see, this mission clearly shows that we are more than about profits alone. We have a very strong mandate to create both economic as well as social change, alongside making funding available to micro, small, and medium enterprises. That's why in 2020, the bank formally kicked off its internal sustainability activity by creating a clear-cut strategy which focuses on three key areas, mainly related to social, economic, as well as environmental governance. We're also an organization that is passionate about the social and community development aspects of our impact. And over time, the DBN brand has become, if you like, synonymous with the key development areas related to, say, gender, national focus areas, or if you like, passionate about both income as well as spatial inequalities, and also concerned about gender disparities. It's also focused about support for youth groups as well as startups. And therefore, we are raising our conversation in these areas so that the bank can take a leading role in these areas. On the governance side of things, right from the establishment of the DBN, we have placed a premium on establishing very high standards of corporate governance at a level that is comparable internationally. And we have a very clear governance structure in the organization that starts, if you like, from the internal sustainability units and goes all the way to the board of directors and its relevant subcommittees to ensure that governance is driven at a level that is internationally acceptable and comparable. To wrap up or to emphasize what I've said before, it needs to be understood that development is primarily about people. We therefore emphasize both financial sustainability as well as economic and social sustainability. And to put effect to this emphasis, we have developed an integrated report which is designed to combine both financial and non-financial dimensions of development in a report that is designed to convey information to our various stakeholders, which reflects the multiple dimensions of development. concept of net zero emissions is centered on the idea of balancing the emissions from greenhouse gas to the point where the increase in emissions exactly balances the withdrawal of these emissions from the atmosphere. That is the idea. Now, if I may just contextualize a little, you will see that the global targets in relation to net emissions is actually to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 45% by 2030 as compared to the levels in 2010, and to reach a net zero emission level by 2050. Now, this is to enable the achievement of the global targets of limiting global warming to not more than 1.5 degrees above the pre-industrial levels of the late 1800s. This is important in order to ensure that you prevent a negative environmental impacts from climate change. Now, I should point out to you that Africa is responsible for only about 3% of global emissions of greenhouse gases. So you may be tempted to think that since Africa is responsible for only a very small proportion of this, then we may not commit to the global targets since we are not responsible. Unfortunately, the reality is that the effects of climate warming will have a disproportionate effect on Africa, and particularly areas related to the Sahel, East and Central Africa, and other parts of Africa. So, if we don't cooperate, the effect will have a very big impact on Africa. So we have no choice as the DBN, therefore, to make whatever efforts we can to contribute to the limiting of the generation of greenhouse gas emissions and to support the country and the global community to try to achieve this goal so as to minimize the effect of this climate change on Africa. To be able to make our contributions effective, the bank has identified some critical areas which we shall ensure that we monitor, track, and report effectively on. These include paper, plastics, recycled waste, as well as areas related to knowledge and advocacy, awareness creation as well. Tracking the aforementioned areas is important in the journey towards achieving the net zero emissions objective of the bank. And these areas, for instance, include identifying emission sources. For as far as the bank is concerned, it has identified some key areas related to emission. These are areas of usage of paper, plastics, the area of waste recycling and disposal, and also the area of energy. These are the main areas that the bank has identified as the sources of greenhouse gas emissions. Following what I have said, reducing paper, plastic, and energy, if you like, usage directly contributes to the goal of achieving net zero emissions by the bank. And this aligns with the overall goal of contributing to national determined NDCs and the global objective. In addition, there has also been considerable emphasis within the bank on sustainability and green training for the staff of the bank, as well as involving the bank in supporting tree planting campaigns in the country. Just to summarize what I'm saying, basically the idea is that these key areas mentioned above, as I said, plastic, paper and waste reduction, as well as energy. Tracking progress in these areas is a fundamental step in the journey of the bank towards achieving its net zero emissions objective, because it provides us with data-driven insights, encourages efficient use of resources at the bank, helps to reduce waste, as well as contributes to overall sustainability. I have already referred to a lot of the effort that has been conducted internally by the bank in terms of raising awareness, knowledge, and developing the right policies and programs with respect to primary sources of green emission, such as paper, plastic, and waste. So there has been a significant generation of internal awareness amongst bank staff in respect of environmental sustainability. I think we've made significant progress in that area, in addition to other traditional areas of sustainability related to gender, youth, and spatial inequalities. But I think we've made significant progress in ensuring that we promote the concept of sustainability and the right practices with respect to our partners and clients. We have provided significant technical assistance to microfinance banks and commercial banks and other PFIs so that they develop the right attitude towards environmental and social risk. Not only the right attitude, but we have insisted that our PFIs have adopted environmental and social governance strategies and policies as a condition for benefiting from DBN support and facilities. We've also been involved in partnerships with other stakeholders to promote this concept. I think one critical example that I can mention here is the partnership with the Rural Electricity Agency, which will enable us to dramatically ramp up our support for the use of green energy in order to reduce the environmental footprints in the area of energy. I think this provides a huge potential for us to use, if you like, green energy and to support our clients to do that. The journey has already started, and I see the role of the Development Bank of Nigeria in a number of critical areas. Number one, I see the DBN as becoming a leader with respect to green and climate finance. Number two, I see the DBN as being one of the main leading voices at the national level when it comes to supporting the implementation of the national determined contributions, as well as on the Sustainable Development Goals. Number three, I see the DBN as dramatically increasing its partnerships with other institutions and organizations in a number of critical areas to promote both social development as well as economic development while minimizing the environmental footprint. For example, I see the DBN as becoming a leader in the effort to collaborate with relevant organizations to drastically reduce the use of fuel wood for the purposes of cooking, which not only devastates our forests, but also imposes unacceptable health and convenience burdens for our women, both rural and urban, as well as their children. The stage is being set with respect to ESG. There are several ongoing initiatives, both nationally as well as globally. And it is my hope that the Development Bank of Nigeria will contribute as a catalytic change agent towards achieving the objectives. The goal of the bank is to ensure that it not only provides leadership in the area of sustainable development, but is also able to demonstrate that development can be combined with environmental and social sustainability, as well as with the achievement of profitability.
Development Bank of Nigeria, financing sustainable growth.